is my favorite. But it's not the game I'm talking about today, it's the designer, Martin Wallace. One of my favorite designers, because of things like Steam, has developed with the last game of Tree Frog Games something that is not railroads at all, yet the mechanics feel similar. So what are you talking about, Brian? Well, Tree Frog did a series of games with, I think it's A Few Feet of Snow, Mythopia, and A Handful of Stars that follow a system. It's not Steam. So don't get that in your head if you're thinking, well, Steam, Age of Steam, all this stuff. This is different than that. See, how so? Well, it's a space game. Look at the art, for instance. She's got a handful of stars. Quite literally right there, you know? But what is this game all about? Why should you play Handful of Stars? Is it something you'll enjoy? Well, we're just going to have to find out by diving in a few stars more. That was a Clint Eastwood reference that just totally failed. So anyway, Handful of Stars, let's look right now. How to play, should you play, and all the stuff about Tree Frog Games' last entry into the planet. Now, that doesn't mean that Martin Wallace is done making games. No. It's just Tree Frog. Let's look now. Handful of Stars. So your basic setup looks a little something like this. You would then look at all the different planets. This goes randomly. You would put them face down and flip them over. You would look in the bottom right corner. Some of them have wormhole symbols, or black hole symbols, I should say. This one's a gamma or delta. I'm terrible with lowercase Greek. You would just put it on the symbol near listed there. And if it doesn't have one, you just don't put it. But most of the time that's going to happen, where you just continue doing that and filling it out. Everyone also starts with a player sheet with your area for your cards to go, kind of a reference guide here, reference to what the symbols are, place for your wormhole technology, where you put your colonies, that's your discs. These blue discs, if you're playing the blue player, the wooden ones, would go there. And then you would also get a couple of these research, these special tokens here that you would put on your spaces there for a couple of them, because you're going to set up a couple of these as your homeworlds. Homeworlds can build stuff, they can produce units. Some of your units would be fleets like this, or star bases like that. Have to do with combat. You say, well, combat, that doesn't sound like a Wallace game. Oh, it does, actually. It does sound like these games here. The way it works is it's a deck builder. There's a ton of different cards over here. Everyone's going to get some basic cards that are part of your race that you pick. There's 7 different races to choose from. You will pick those based on these right here. So the Peace Nims, the Explore Mords, the Builderoids, Technoids, Storebots, love that, that's clever, and then the Agriloids. So these are all different ones that you can choose to start with. It really doesn't do anything except it tells you what your starting cards are going to be. You'll get a hand of cards with some basic starter cards that look like this in your color. So let's just say you're playing purple. You would get the set of starter cards that look like this, that have these symbols on them. They're basic cards. You spin these symbols to do the different actions. And the actions could be things like building. So you would spend a matter symbol and an energy symbol. A matter and a population symbol to build. You can build some fleet units, you can build star bases or things like that based on where you are. You can only build them at your colonies though, not your outposts. So that's the wooden discs, not the wooden cubes. You could move, you could spend 1 energy to move your fleet along the path. Now they can't move through black holes, which is the point of setting these out, so you may have to take a more circuitous route to get places. You can colonize, which would be to put a population. You spend a population to put one of the cubes out. Outpost cubes just give you points. They don't give you, you can't build there. Or you can spend a colony. Now the colonies again are up here, so each time you spend one of these, you'll take a new one of these tokens, which give you a different benefit that can be spent once per round. Is a weird word because there's a shuffle mechanic that we'll talk about in a minute. You can then draft a technology. So you have 8 cards up here at the top of different technologies, things like diplomacy, terraforming. This is the cost down here of what it costs to buy these cards, but what they do is in the top left, or sometimes it has text here to tell you certain things they can do. So this is mass armies. You may use your population to add your combat strength. So in combat, it's this tug of war game that deals with this track on the side. If you move 2 units into one place, you have this combat. Well, it takes the base amount of the fleet, which is 3 per fleet, plus any cards that you play to do the attack, to build your attack value up. So the attacker goes up to here, wherever he is on this attacker, then the defense has a chance to add matter and power to it to get that into the defense side. Whichever side is in their color, green for the defense, red for the attack, wins the battle. You would then have to lose half of your units there, round it up, and retreat off of it, giving control to that area to whoever wins, basically. Now, you would still have to, if you are conquering it, you would still have to spend the colonize action to get the points for either a cube, an outpost, or a homeworld, or something like that. You can reserve a card. So you can reserve a card over here. Any card can go in your reserve area, or you can put another one in the reserve too. But some of the cards say reserve on them. You can only put cards in that second reserve that have that reserve keyword on them right there. So that's what that's all about. You have 6 cards in your hand. Once you spend your cards, unlike most deck builders, you do not discard all of them. In fact, you just discard the ones you play and keep going. You draw back up to your hand limit. That's it's not a new thing, but it's a concept in a deck builder that I really like, because it means you don't just go, well, I didn't use these cards, let me throw them out of here. Your planet cards that you also have also give you benefits too, and you put them into your deck as well. The game lasts as many shuffles as there are, and that's this track over here. So what do I mean by shuffles? Well, when you run out of your draw deck, you will then pick up the cards in your discard pile, shuffle them into your draw deck, and start over, and then move that up the track 1 space until it gets to the end of the game per player count. When you do that, the game's over. You count victory points, which is 3 per cube that you have out there, the outpost, 5 per colony, and then 7 for your homeworld. And then whoever has the most points wins the game. And that's about it. It really is that simple. You can remove a card from play as an action. You can discard cards as an action. You can take a card action that's on your cards, or you can pass. And that's pretty much all you do in the games. You continue getting better cards, fighting for territories out here. And sometimes you have to fight aliens who are on the planets initially, and you have to kind of have a strength above them when you first uncover them. And that's it. You fight, you win, you get victory points, and you buy cards. So did you like Handful of Stars, Brian? That's a good question. I did, actually, and here's the reason why. Let's talk about positive things first of all. The art is really, really good, like very pretty art all the way through the game. The nebula in the middle of the board, all the planets are unique, have a different look, and I love it. I think it's really great. All the cards, the art on each card is great. It's very sci-fi art. It's really pretty, really well done. The mechanics, taking a deck builder and taking the one irritating thing about a deck builder in which when you use your hand, you discard everything even if you use it or not, and getting rid of that concept to where you keep the cards that you didn't spend. You can also reserve a card to play as part of your hand later, and it's just a really cool twist on normal deck builders. But it's also the fact that it has a board, so it's not just a deck builder, it's a deck builder mechanic in a board game, or it's a board game with a deck builder mechanic. I'm not really sure which one of those is more accurate. Is it a deck builder that has a board, or is it a board game that uses a deck builder mechanic? Think about Great Western Trail. It's a board game that uses a deck builder mechanic. This one relies more heavy on it, obviously, because your cards are everything you do. But I like the fact that there's movement of the fleets across these planet connections, and you can open up wormholes to where you can travel between wormhole planets with that symbol on it. I really like that. One of the things that I thought was a negative, and it's more to do with, production quality is good, the art is very pretty, but on the back of everything, it's just blank white. And I understand that for cost, and that's really not something that should detract, considering you'll never look at the back of it during a game. But it's just one of those things you kind of notice as setting up. But also, this is just part of the game. You cannot get away from this. The fact that finding the planets is kind of hard sometimes. Now, it gives you an idea on the planet cards of what the planet looks like, because the setup is random. It's kind of hard sometimes to find those planets, but it's not that bad. That's really the only negatives I can think. The only other thing that might turn you off from this is it's a little repetitive in the sense that you do the same thing, but that's any game. You do the same thing over and over and over again until you win. That's it though. I mean, it's a deck builder where you get better and better cards, and you combo those cards, and it's just really well done. So good job. Great job, Martin Wallace. I have a lot of respect for you. I don't know if you'll ever watch this video or not, but I have a lot of respect for you as a designer for the stuff you've come up with over the years, and I think this is a great kind of swan song finish off of Tree Frog Games, who just put out some great games over the years. So thanks for another fantastic entry into the world of board gaming. We can't wait to see what you've got coming. Thank you for doing this. So enjoy it. Thank you for everything as well. Putting this together, you guys do an amazing job and have done an amazing job with Tree Frog. So we're sad to see it go, but we look forward to see what you guys do in the future. So that is Handful of Stars, Martin Wallace. Go out and check this game out. If you can get your hands on it, it's really fun. It's a little long is the only thing, but other than that, it's a good game. Check out Handful of Stars, Martin Wallace. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.